Thomas?
Yeah, I think that one of the missing components in the conversation, which is inexorably linked to the issue of climate change, of course, is energy. How we get it, how much we make, how diverse it is, the different types of energy produced, what they do or how they impact people's bottom line in terms of their monthly budgets. And when you talk to people about energy, you get a very different perspective. I think a lot of people want energy to be reliable and affordable. I think a lot of people want to be able to choose. Choice is a really important component here in the electorate. We talk a lot about cars because cars is sort of the thing these days with the EV mandates in California and the Biden administration. Most people are pushing back on the Biden EV agenda precisely because they feel that these choices are being forced upon them. And as a result, you might agree or disagree, but as a result, it does form it sort of plays into the politics of these issues as well. And that is why, if this issue was such a slam dunk on climate, as you described, why are the two political parties so vastly, almost everybody in each party is on one side or the other, if you will, on this issue of energy and climate. So climate change itself may be top of mind for people, but I think that when they are thinking about their day-to-day lives, they are certainly not seeing, we certainly don't see that as being one of the most pressing issues that people are thinking about when they're making these choices.
And Thomas, as you may have heard, there is a presidential election this year, and I'd like to transition a little bit over to the candidates and the dynamics surrounding the candidates, and start by asking you this question. The U.S. just produced more oil last year than any nation in history. It leads the world in oil and natural gas production and in gas exports, where the capacity is projected to double by 2028. Joe Biden signs off on the Willow Oil Project in Alaska, Mountain Valley Natural Gas Pipeline, huge oil export project in Texas. Of all this new federal funding, oil and gas companies are expected to get funding for technologies like hydrogen fuel, carbon dioxide storage. Why is the fossil fuel industry so unhappy with the president?
I don't know I'm not speaking for the fossil fuel industry. I don't know how upset they are or not upset they are with the president. What I will say is, what we see with the cumulative impacts of the last 3 years of decisions that have been made by the Biden administration, Ali Zaidi said it earlier, they take a whole of government approach to the climate change issue. We at the American Energy Alliance have identified over 200 specific actions that the administration has taken to make it more difficult to produce oil and gas. Now, we're record producers, and that's a great thing, by the way, I believe, for our national security and for a whole host of reasons. But what that will do is curtail and impact future production. In the future, we'll be producing less oil and gas on federal lands, for example, onshore, offshore, et cetera. And then with respect to the hydrogen tax credits and things of that nature, they're still not being pushed out the door. Like, hydrogen, there's a debate about green versus blue hydrogen. There's all kinds of other discussions taking place. CCS, for example, which the administration based their recent Clean Power Plan 3.0 on that technology being available and commercially viable, still isn't there. So I think that there's an opportunity for the fossil fuel industry, the oil and gas industry, to take advantage of some of those, but they're not anywhere near the level of deployment that some of these other tax credits in the IRA are, for example. So,
Thomas, let's say Donald Trump wins the presidential election. Where would his policies in a Trump administration or a second Trump administration differ from your organization, and in what ways?
Where would they differ?
Where would they differ?
I hope not very, very much. I think most of the day has been talked about this historic IRA, right? Well, I look at the IRA as a budget reconciliation package that has a whole bunch of tax credits and subsidies, mostly for large corporations. I mean, if you really break down what it is, that's what it is. And if Donald Trump wins the election, he's going to take a look at the revenue, that potential revenue he could generate from the funds in that thing that haven't been spent, to fund his priorities in a reconciliation, assuming that he wins the presidency. Now, the other discussion I heard today was, well, some people are going to fight to keep those, some people are going to fight to preserve what they have. That's going to be a big battle. So at the end of the day, I think the difference between President Trump and his administration and our organization would be the relative amount of money that he claws back from the IRA. I think we would err on the side of more, not less. And also how many of what I would argue are very, very legally questionable, but also pretty impactfully harmful to the economy, a lot of the regulations that come out of the agencies, especially EPA. So if he starts right away, if he puts in a good team, I think he's got a really good chance at making a lot of progress. You've got the Congressional Review Act, which still has largely sort of not been settled in terms of what the actual timelines are for when a regulation is ripe and all that. So I suspect that if Trump wins, it's likely that Congress will change over as well. If Biden wins, it's likely that maybe the Senate flips, maybe the House flips. And then if that happens, then it's more of what we've had the last 4 years, which is lots of carrots, try to get some sticks through the regulatory process, but having to be cognizant of the fact that a lot of these bedrock environmental laws are simply outdated and simply need to be updated, whether you want more from them or less from them. That's a conversation and a debate and discussion that needs to take place in Congress, because I think we would all agree that the major environmental statutes that are in place now are insufficient for what your objectives are, for example, and I believe that they're outdated and don't actually have any real value in terms of what they're providing for the environment.